When you come face to face with the USS Minnesota SSN 783, the $3 billion invisible monster hiding beneath the ocean, you'd better hope it never hears you. Because in the game between silence and survival, it only needs to hear you once, and then it's over. 1447 local time, North Atlantic, sea state 3-4. Wind 14-18 knots from the west-northwest, white caps scarring the cold surface of the sea. Visibility 6-8 nautical miles, a low gray haze blurring radar returns and hiding the horizon. A watchstander leans forward. The radar scope flashes a green spark punching through static, a heartbeat rising from the abyss. New surface contact, bearing 110 degrees, range 31 nanometer, speed 22 kts, heading 284 degrees, a steel arrow cutting through the skin of the ocean, aimed straight at America's invisible threshold. The console hisses like a cornered snake as track quality jumps from Alpha 3 to Alpha 1. The computer screams in silent text, bandwidth compressed, error bars collapsing, AIS silent, identity concealed, voice withheld, intent buried. Inside the Combat Information Center aboard USS Minnesota, SSN 783, the air thins not for lack of oxygen, but because doubt has entered the room. At 22 knots, the contact eats through zero. 37 nautical miles per minute, a predator gnawing at the horizon. Estimated time to boundary 1 hour 27 minutes. The closest point of approach to any U.S. picket remains a ghost in the math, a void waiting for geometry to sharpen. For a single heartbeat, the Atlantic holds its breath. The silhouette library flips its cards. Length 94 m, displacement 1,700 tons, hull angles sharpened to wound radar itself. Preliminary match Russian Navy project 22-160 Vasily Bykov, class patrol ship. Forward, the AK-176MA, 76 meters, a steel fist firing 120 rounds per minute, reaching 15+ kilometers across flat water. Its positive ME radar sweeps like a hungry eye. Machine guns crouch like metal fangs. Optional caliber VLS tubes form its hidden mouth dormant or simply waiting. A surface warrior, the Vasily Bykov, pushes toward a border. No map shows, but every admiral feels a frontier drawn by law, guarded by steel, sensors, and discipline. The deck hums, the plotter's pencil hovers midair, and deep beneath the thermocline, USS Minnesota stirs its reactor beating like a heart in the dark, its sensors listening like a god that never sleeps. At 1447, the Atlantic blinked. A moment of silence vanished. In 90 minutes, someone would answer, or the world would split in two. 53 hours. 6 minutes since the Atlantic blinked. Pressure drags the story below the thermocline. USS Minnesota, SSN 783 loiters quiet at 500 F to length 115 May. Submerged displacement, 7,800 T. At her core, S9G keeps a caged sun running 33 years without refuel. The pump jet whispers, the hull barely trembles. A cathedral of circuits and graphite, breathing like a whale, praying in M-hearts. Sonar suite, ANBQQ-10 spherical array up front, TB-29A towed array trailing in kilometer-scale aperture, ears stretched for miles, parsing screws from surf. Combat system ANBYG-1 fuses the ocean's rumors into tracks, multi-target by design. Weapons on tap, Mk-48, ADCAP Mod 7, 55 KTS, 50+ kilometer. Tomahawk BLK Eiffel 1, 600 kilometer. Submarine launched via VPT VLS, block dependent. Metal discipline safeties on, logs rolling, evidence first. Surface layer answers with a smaller nerve. USCGC Guardian-24 Island-class WPB-110 runs 34 m, 165 t, 30 KTS, crew 16, a patrol blade honed for close work. Sensors AN-SPS-73 navigation are surface search, FLIR MX-10 EOIR with high zoom scrutiny, non-lethal 532 nanometer green warning laser, VHF CH-16 bridge-to-bridge hails, weapons Mk-38, Mod 2, 25 mm 280 RDS-MN and 2 KEX M2HB, 50 cal, effective 1/800 metro, the smallest American eye with the longest memory. Above, the Russian blade presses west at 22 kts, below in a beam. 2 American nerves flex, one seen, one unseen. Minnesota harvests signatures. Guardian-24 paints angles and range. Strategic stance, lawful presence. ROE tight. Cameras and tapes ready. Countdown isn't spoken, but it ticks in numbers, speed, bearing. Projected time to boundary 1H27 matters if nothing changes. Steel has begun to think. Sensors have begun to listen. The ocean's chessboard is set. Vasily Bykov on the surface, USS Minnesota in the dark, Guardian-24 on the line, and the next move will be measured in nautical miles and nerve. 14:54 hours. 6 minutes since Minnesota locked its first whisper. Circuits breathe, algorithms lean forward like hunters in the dark. The sea no longer feels infinite, it feels measured. 14:56 track confirms steady 22 knots, heading 284 deg, bearing true, time to boundary, 88 minutes. AIS remains dark. ELINT grids across the sector catch faint static spikes, positive ME radar emissions, drifting like ghost lanterns through the ether, each pulse tagged, triangulated, logged. The ocean begins to draw a name in binary, 14:58. The contact accelerates 24 knots. At that rate, it devours 0. 4 nautical miles per minute. In 12 minutes, it will have eaten 4.8 mm. Geometry tightens like a noose. Minnesota's fire control math sketches an invisible wall. The Russian hull now less than 90 minutes from the EEZ. Sea room collapsing in clean, merciless increments. 15-0 BQQ-10 sonar isolates the propulsor's fingerprint diesel-electric band at 128 Hz, harmonic ladder matching Project 160. Confidence index 0.82. The algorithm flinches. The database remembers. The ocean whispers its name, Vasily Bykov. Doctrine unrolls coldly. International waters confirmed. ROE Step 1. Initiated hail and warn. Objective deter. Document. Do not provoke. Every move logged. Every decibel preserved. And behind the data, hum lies motive. Because in 2025, war doesn't always start with fire. Testing response time, probing seams, feeding state cameras each frame a weapon. In this age, a camera can kill reputations faster than any missile can kill men. 15:03 hours. Numbers become orders. USCGC Guardian-24 swings onto the intercept vector, 2830 KTS, bow knifing white water. VHF CH-16 opens like a flare across the ether. Unidentified Russian patrol vessel. You are closing U.S. maritime boundary at high speed. Alter course immediately. SPS 73 paints range and bearing. FLIR MX-10 tightens its gaze until steel fills pixels. 15:04. Silence. The message repeats in Russian. Clean and hard. Российское судно. Вы приближаетесь к линии США. Немедленно измените курс. Carrier wave holds. No reply. No AIS. The sea listens. 15:07. Target blinks. Radar silent. Yet holds 24 KTS. Heading 284 degree. Not drift, deliberate vector. Wake straight as a promise. Guardian-24 trims speed. Keeps the cut. Hail logged. Time-stamped. Archived. 15:10. Numeracy CPA 8.1 nm in 22 minutes. Thresholds go out on the net. CPA 6 nm ROE Step 2. Show presence plus record. CPA AS 5 nm danger close. Voice tone on circuit dry iron. Every mile stolen from the clock is a mile stolen from the diplomats. Below, SSN 783 Minnesota stays passive. TB-29A laid belly to current, drawing a bloodline of sound a kilometer long. BQQ-10 sifts the ocean's teeth one frequency at a time. The ghost hears more than it speaks, writing everything down. On the surface, the eye. Beneath the deep, the heart. Two forces move in unison, one to see, one to hear. Everything is closing toward the 6 nautical mile threshold, where the smallest mistake could set the entire ocean alight. 15:11 hours, 6 nautical miles to the edge. The ocean feels like a stretched cable, one wrong pull, and it snaps. Under the waves, USS Minnesota, SSN 783 glides at 500 feet, moving just 5 knots slow enough to stay invisible. Her pump jet hums softly, tuning water like a whisper through steel. Inside, every valve breathes in rhythm. Every sensor listens like a heartbeat. Self-noise sits below 100 decibels, clean and surgical. If she sprinted, her signature would spike 0.7%, a death sentence in sonar math. The captain's hand never twitches. Patience is armor. On the surface, USCGC Guardian-24 cuts white water at patrol speed. FLIR MX-10 paints a glowing shape on its screen, the Russian funnel, heat shimmering with each throttle burst. SPS-73 radar sweeps like a restless eye. The 532 nanometer green laser is armed but capped, a finger resting on the trigger guard. The bridge is calm, but every breath is timed to the ticking of the CPA clock. In command, relays ashore. Data flies through satellites in seconds. Every voice, every radar pulse, every frame from the FLIR feed stamped, hashed, archived. A digital nervous system stretching across oceans, still faster than Pride. 15:15. The FLIR zooms X-320. Two Russian sailors appear by the AK-176MA gun. No movement yet, just waiting, watching. 3 layers: sea, surface, and command now breathe as one organism, each heartbeat tighter than the last. The next mile won't be measured in distance, but in discipline. Discipline tightens. Math takes the helm. Guardian-24 holds its patrol blade above the waves. Minnesota holds its breath at 500 feet. The board now moves by numbers alone. Speed Russian ship 24 knots, about 0.4 nautical miles per minute. Distance to warning zone 6 nm around 15 minutes. Distance to danger close 5 nm about 17 minutes. Guardian-24 speed 28 to 30 knots, closing gap by 0.06-0.1 nm per minute, depending on angle. The rules of engagement light up in sequence. 2 radio calls ignored. AIS still dark. Speed still high. Heading unchanged. Next protocol. Show presence. Record. Prepare non-lethal warning. The sea feels like a stopwatch turned sideways, ticking. Not in seconds, but in miles. Guardian-24 runs full patrol power. Its SPS-73 radar painting updates every few seconds. FLIR MX-10 locking onto the heat plume from the Russian ship's exhaust. The 532 nanometer green laser stays capped. 1 order away from ignition. Below, USS Minnesota holds at 5 knots. Its sonar BQQ-10 tracing the rhythm of the Russian propellers. The TB-29A towed array drawing an invisible red line through the current. The commander's tone cuts through the static hold course. Maintain record feed? No mistakes. Each mile now feels heavier, like oxygen running thin in a sealed room. The radar plot shrinks 6.0, 5.9, 5.8 nautical miles. The sea is no longer still. It tightens like the chest of a beast ready to strike. 6 miles is no longer distance. It's engagement range, and 1 wrong move will start the war. 18 hours. CPA tightening to 5.2, 5.4 nautical miles. Guardian-24 initiates non-lethal deterrence protocol. The 532 nanometer green laser pulses across the bridge windows of the Russian vessel, highly visible, blindingly bright, but harmless. The FLIR MX-10 locks on target, recording in thermal. Crew movement detected. Heat blooms surge around the AK-176MA gun mount. Body signatures glowing hot figures moving like ghosts outlined in fire. Each frame is time-stamped, encrypted, and relayed to the command archive. 15:20, below, USS Minnesota SSN 783 at 500 FT reads subtle shifts through BQQ-10. Sonar cavitation noise rises 15%. Propeller harmonics sharpen. The ocean speaks the truth. The Russian helmsman is nervous. Bearing drift stabilizes. Vectors align. Both sides now stare through steel. Row discipline holds. No fire control radar detected. No turret movement beyond idle arcs. The laser beam remains angled below eye level, per safety directive. A dry voice breaks through the radio net. We don't fire first. We record first. 1522, range 5.0, 5.2 nautical miles at current speeds, CPA floor in less than 5 minutes. Guardian-24 runs 29 knots, bow steady. SPS-73 radar sweeps every 3 seconds. Below, Minnesota cruises silent at 5 knots, its TB-29A array dragging behind like a steel nerve, sensing every vibration of the oncoming hull. The ocean's pulse syncs with the countdown. Every mile now feels like a decision waiting to detonate. 15-24 hours. CPA dips below 5 nautical miles. Russian vessel maintains 24 knots steady. The AK-176 MEA turret rotates roughly 12 degrees. Still within idle tolerance, no elevation. No fire control radar detected. Intent or intimidation, the ocean answers with silence. Guardian-24 transmits its final bilingual warning on VHF CH-16 unidentified Russian vessel. You are entering a restricted proximity zone. Alter course immediately. Российское судно. Российское судно. Вы приближаетесь к ограниченной зоне. Немедленно измените курс. Armed on deck engagement. Authorized only if fire control radar activates or an unsafe maneuver occurs inside 5 nautical miles. Every camera rolls, every data stream backed up to command. Beneath them, USS Minnesota SSN 783 holds her course at 5 knots. Sonar arcs stretched wide. Her Mk-48 ADCAP torpedoes rest in their tubes, 55 knots. 50 kilometer reach a lecture in tungsten, reserved only for lawbreakers. Metal breathes differently now. The submarine holds its breath. The patrol boat watches unblinking. The Russian hull drums its fingers against the waves. Every machine becomes a heartbeat in steel. Numeracy snapshot, CPA 4.8, 4.9 millimeters. Closure decelerates as micro-corrections bleed speed. Pressure, not fire, decides this duel. On the horizon, the green laser scar flickers in salt spray, a thin, shimmering boundary drawn where maps have none. At 15:24, the standoff turns into a high-tension contest at its breaking point, a battle of light between those who cannot afford a single mistake. 15:31 hours, pressure breaks, Russian speed drops 17 knots, course eases 11 degrees starboard, CPA opens by the minute. The Atlantic exhales. First transmission. RU accented English USW warship. This is Russian patrol vessel on sovereign duty. We are in international waters. Guardian-24 answers. Iron flat on VHF CH-16, United States Coast Guard patrol operating lawfully in international waters. Your unsafe maneuvers have been recorded. Parallel run established 5.00, 5.3 nanometer beam, 17 to 18 knots. FLIR MX-10 keeps recording continuous thermal. SPS-73 logs a steady track. Bearing drift negligible. Laser 532 nanometer safed and capped. ROE returns to Step 2 posture show presence plus record. Undersea cut USS Minnesota SSN 783 rolls a few degrees to hold TB-29A at optimal aspect. Undersea cut USS Minnesota SSN 783 rolls a few degrees to hold TB-29A at optimal aspect. AN-BQQ-10 notes cavitation normalization as throttle eases. Acoustic log clean, confidence tails tagged and stored for later exploitation. Weapons tight, 5 knots maintained, 15:33. Both hulls settle into disciplined spacing. Guardian-24 timestamps every hail. Minnesota mirrors with acoustic marks. Command relays acknowledge receipt. Chain of custody intact. 15:45. Evidence sealed flyer footage. Radar plots, radio logs, acoustic clips all hash verified and transmitted to ONI and the Pentagon. Tag successful deterrence event. 2025-1017A. The boundary was tested, not breached. No shots, no collisions. Discipline and math built a stronger wall than armor ever could. Guardian-24 holds position, recording to the last frame before turning home. USS Minnesota sinks deeper. Systems steady. Its sonar dropping one last ping, a quiet signature, like a heartbeat signing off. On the horizon, the Russian wake fades into the dusk, swallowed by distance and protocol.